Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review for a Valentine from 2001. Basically, this is a film that I watched like a week before Valentine's Day last week. I was going to review it before Valentine's Day or on Valentine's Day, and I got too busy. I had other things, other obligations I had to do for my other channel, Michael Goosebumps Fan, where I put kind of my focus on right now. But anyway, trying to do stuff for that channel, kind of put this one to the side for Valentine's Day. But anyway, I wanted to review Valentine for that particular holiday. I tried, couldn't get around to it, and here I am now, like a week after Valentine's Day, trying to talk about it. So, let's discuss Valentine. Valentine was a film that I used to see all the time on the DVD rental shelves of Hollywood Video and Blockbuster Video. And I never got around to watching it. I always saw the poster, it looked pretty cool on the cover, with like the mask, but it was like a Cupid-looking face. And it looked like it had like musical notes around it. A very weird, kind of cheap, low-grade looking cover, but I always liked the aesthetic of it. I always liked the coloring to it, of being a very romantic looking red. I know that sounds weird, but that's how I felt about it when I was a kid. And I grew up on horror films. I grew up on slashers, mainly with Friday the 13th and so on and so on. You guys have heard me talk about that if you're familiar with my channel. And I was thinking, you know, I wanted to see this, and I remember hearing about it, and I saw that it was listed on Tubi to watch for free. And I thought, you know, I haven't seen it, I'll go ahead and watch it. I reviewed My Bloody Valentine and its remake, so I thought, you know, I should talk about this one too. So let me tell you, I didn't hate this. I actually think I feel a little wish-washy on it, kind of like how I feel about, oh, my stomach growled, sorry. Kind of like how I feel about I Know What You Did Last Summer. If you've seen that film, it's a little wish-washy, not really much blood to it, more than in this film. But I wish this had more blood. This feels and probably is a PG-13 horror film, if I had to bet. And it's kind of coming out of a late version of the revitalization that Scream had made for the horror subgenres, like slashers, for example. Mainly slashers, mystery, whodunit type stuff. There's, again, not really any blood to the film. It's kind of a bloodless movie. It has some decent kills that are kind of ironic in a fun way. I like that about it. I have a lot to say about this film that I think is a little bit atypical to what most people feel about Valentine. So let's get to the actual story first and foremost. Essentially, there's a prologue to this film where you have a young boy asking a bunch of girls out at the Valentine's Day dance at his school's gym, and pretty much everybody's denying him, and they're kind of mean about it. They're not just like, you know, sorry, Johnny, go away. They're just straight up mean to him, like, I would rather boil to death, you know? They'll say things like that to this poor kid. And he gets pretty upset. And then eventually one of the girls, who's a little bit chubbier, says yes to hang out with him. They end up making out behind the bleachers. Bunch of kids, bullies, catch him, and they basically do some horrific stuff to him and beat him up. And the girls all grow up to continue to be friends after so many years. They're like in their 30s now. And a killer begins to haunt their life, sending them like these really messed up Valentine's Day cards that I loved. It feels like a My Bloody Valentine thing, but in a really cool way, like really like kind of mean-spirited type stuff. And I thought it was pretty fun, like that humor, that kind of mean-spirited humor from the killer, but also the humor amongst the friends, the kind of banter they have amongst their friend group. I liked all of that. I liked their different backgrounds. One of them is rich, one of them is Denise Richards, who is absolutely beautiful. Pretty much all of them are single to this day, probably has a lot to do, more than likely, with their horrible personalities and how they act to people. Again, not that the performances and the characters are badly written or acted, just they are supposed to be that way, which might rub some of you the wrong way. If you haven't seen the film, you'll probably think, I hate all these people, I hope they all die. Frankly, that's kind of the point. It's not just your typical slasher thing, it's just kind of the point. I rooted for our main girl, she wasn't too bad. But anyway, essentially they start to get hunted down by somebody that's kind of in a basic slasher costume in a very generic type of way. The film, from the cover and from the way I see it rated on like IMDb, the things I hear about this online, I expected a lower quality film, more of a low budget film, but no, this looks like a 2001 theatrical release movie. And it looks good, in my opinion, for what it is as a whodunit mystery type of film that really didn't have more than like a $10 million budget, I believe. I liked it a lot. I had a really good time with it for the most part with the whodunit aspect. Again, I wish there was more gore, but the whodunit mystery stuff was pretty fun. The killer is kind of generic looking, as I was saying, though. They wear kind of like a black overcoat type of thing. Black outfit, black shoes, and then like a mask that was in the prologue of the film that the kids must have seen, whoever the killer might be. It's like a Cupid mask, and it's kind of a weird Cupid mask. You can't really look at it at first and decipher that's a Cupid mask, but that's apparently what it is. And as I watched the film, it made more sense at the end of the film why it was that. But one thing that's very unique about this killer that happens to be in common with the original kid that was asking all those girls out at the dance is that when he got upset at that dance in the prologue, he started to have a nosebleed, right? Like when he gets panicked or starts to get really upset or wants to fist fight somebody, he would start getting a nosebleed. And this killer, every time we see this person going to kill somebody, starts to get a nosebleed out of the mask that goes down the Cupid face. So we kind of think, okay, that's probably him. Yeah, it's probably that kid. And there's a lot of dudes in this movie, mainly because all of these girls, as I said, are single. They're going on blind dates together to try to meet new dudes. They're sitting side by side while they go from table to meet guys. That aspect of this, I think, is very well done. Very humorous, very funny. The way they, kind of pick at each other as friends about how, like, oh, you're still single at 30 or whatever they keep saying. That stuff is pretty funny. And again, somebody who I don't even like Denise Richards, does a good job in the film. I'm really impressed with that. But as I said, there's a lot of dudes that come into their life that all kind of look and kind of sound like that kid from the beginning of the film, the one from the prologue with the nosebleeds that we suspect might be the killer. A lot of them have the same hairstyles, a lot of them have the same look and build to them, some of them can be kind of nerdy, some of them kind of seem fake. There's a lot of that in this movie, and I'll be honest with you, I really didn't have a good idea who it could be. I had a lot of suspects, but that's really what a whodunit does with red herrings. You kind of suspect a lot of people a lot of the time, or you get thrown off to believe it's one particular person until they pull the rug out from under you. Frankly, I really enjoyed how they did it for this movie, and I thought even the ending of the film, with the killer's reveal and everything, I thought all that was really clever and well done, in my personal opinion. I know it's probably not the popular opinion about Valentine. Maybe it could have been done less sloppily, but I really liked it. I thought it had a lot going for it. I thought it was well done, well acted, all of that. As a matter of fact, one of the guys in the film is played by the guy he played Angel in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, by the way, but he was also on Bones. He's one of the main characters on Bones. Aside from Bones, he's the other guy. You know him. He played Angel, for God's sake, on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and in the show Angel. Great actor. Really liked him, too. I do not know his name to save my life. I tried to pronounce it earlier. Can't do it. Just going to call him the Angel guy. And I've always liked him. I thought he was really solid here for his performance as kind of an ex-drunk, ex-alcoholic that's dating one of the girls. Pretty cool. I liked him a lot. There's really not much to say. Again, it kind of looks like a cheaper movie, but it's 2001. This is what a lot of slashers looked like at that time with this kind of budget. I don't think it's a horribly made movie. I think it's just a little sloppy sometimes. I wish there was more gore. I wish there were more practical effects. There's really not any CGI as far as I remember. It's been a couple of weeks since I watched it, but I really enjoyed the whodunit aspect, and I really think this film pivots on whether you like that or not, for your enjoyment's sake. If you don't like that, if you're not engaged with that because of the character stuff, or whatever, you're probably going to hate the film, to be honest with you. But overall, I had a good time with it. There's not really a musical score, but there's kind of a soundtrack of some different songs in here that feel like pop songs, but kind of not. Like, it's the typical late 90s, early 2000s type stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I don't hate that aspect of this either, especially with the party scene that happens in the third act of the film. I like a lot of that. Even down to like a particular cop that's helping investigate and trying to find this killer that's investigating this whole murder scene. He gets involved in the plot pretty heavily. I like him too. Everybody did a really good job in the film, and I have to be honest, I'm surprised that so many people hate this movie. It kind of surprises me a lot that people talk down about it so much, especially when you compare it to a lot of things that have come out in recent years, with higher budgets on top of that. Anyway, with all that being said, I didn't hate Valentine at all. I'm kind of surprised people hate it as much as they do. As I said, I thought it was really fun. It's not the greatest thing ever by any means, but as a slasher whodunit from the late 90s, early 2000s, this being a 2001 release, it feels like that stuff a lot of the time. Being a post-Scream slasher and trying to be a little meta but kind of not, all of that stuff made for a really fun little film that I expected to hate. I'm going to be honest with you. There are some films back in the day, like Bleed, that I used to see in Hollywood Video and Blockbuster that I loved the cover for, started watching the film at some point, and it's total trash. It's total trash, total Asylum-level budget or Full Moon Entertainment budget type shit that I couldn't stand. This, however, I think is a big surprise, for me personally. Anyway, have you seen it? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear what you have to say about the 2001 film Valentine. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. Sorry for a late review on this one, too, because I wanted to talk about it for Valentine's Day, but as I said, missed my deadline, which happens constantly with me. Anyway, Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Are there any other kind of Valentine's Day themed slashers I could talk about next year? Not even slashers, just horror films in general. I looked around briefly online, really didn't see anything but this and My Bloody Valentine. It's really your only selection for that time of the year. My Bloody Valentine's original film being much, much better, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, what did you guys think about the film? I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comment section down below. Even though it's a little late, I hope you had a great Valentine's Day. Thank you guys for watching. And if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5 stars in total for me personally. That's just my opinion on it. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. God bless you. Goodbye.